Like, who the hell says dragons are dumb? Like, this is making me angry.
Well,
Where have
because
you heard this? I've never heard anybody say that.
okay, back in first edition, dragons were like you wanted to go fight dragons because they were so underpowered. And they had a horde, so you knock them out
Well,
and you get all
yeah.
kinds of loot.
The game is called Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey, I don't know. I guess Gygax had a had a thing out for dragons. He didn't like it.
I would take a dragon over a dungeon any day. God damn, people don't know what they're talking about. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Down Roll. That's Will DM. We'll do it that way so you can see where I'm pointing. That's Will DM. I'm
Hi.
Adam.
He's Adam.
And today, you're like, was there an echo in here?
There's an echo in here.
Adam.
No, I'm just gonna repeat stuff real soft
Oh,
after you say it.
that's gonna make me so mad.
Mad.
Yeah.
Okay.
What a way to start off.
All right.
Anyway, what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about dragons. Are they badass or are they dumb?
Badass or dumb?
What kind of a question is this?
It's a legit question.
What
you know? Mm-hmm.
idiot wrote this question?
I don't know, but I think he was a smart dude. Oh yeah. Me. I did it. I read the question.
So let's take a look. Let's take a look behind the curtain a little bit here before we get into the conversation.
Okay.
What made you write this?
Because it's lots of times when I'm thinking of things for us to talk about or what have you, I can't help. I'm going to do it. I have to.
Are you going to say fucking grognards again?
I fucking am right. Can you see, back in the day, lots of times when I
was a boy, when I had to carve dice out of a fallen tree.
Yeah,
because they didn't have plastic in those days.
The tree was struck by lightning. So, but lots
we
of times
we didn't even have tools. We had to wait for lightning to strike the trees.
No, it was we had a pet beaver, a trained beaver. But
that would be really funny.
Kind of cool, right? Lots of times when I look at things or things come up, I can't help but compare things to way things used to be, and it's the same theory behind remaking movies. Lots of times you're like, you'll hear that they're remaking that. Why in the hell would they remake that? Because there's a whole generation now that has no clue about what came before. And so like
the Princess Bride, they wanted to remake the Princess Bride.
I know. Fortunately, there's enough fans out there that said hells to
that
no
movie is perfect as is.
Exactly. But a lot of people don't know how. It's in the fucking name of the game, Dungeons and Dragons. Right. How dragons were handled in earlier editions and what have you. Dragons now are pretty decent, but my contention has always been that dragons have been drastically underpowered throughout pretty much the majority of the history of Dungeons and Dragons.
So you think that grognards think dragons are dumb?
Not dumb, but easy pickings. That first edition players, man, it's like once they got up to a certain level, they started licking their chops going, let's go find us some dragons. Because they're like, we can punk out a dragon pretty easy. and then we've got a horde, and we've got all this, loot XP. It was like that was the mother load. I mean, 10th level characters were not afraid. First edition 10th level characters were not afraid of dragons at all.
Wow.
A group would go and just plunk it out, and take their shit. Notoriously low in hit points. Armor classes were not all that great. They had some deep attacks, especially their breath weapon, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, the only thing that was really the saving grace for dragons in the earlier editions is that all dragons in earlier editions, for the most part, were spellcasters. That was really the only way that really saved their bacon in any sense.
So then why are dragons considered the most dangerous of all the monsters?
I think it basically just goes off in mythology, and stories. I mean, you can go around and ask anybody on the planet, hey, what's a dragon? They'll tell you what a dragon is. Everybody knows about it, and then there's just the popular common myths of dragons being these big badass monsters,
so then what the fuck was Gygax's problem?
I don't know. And they tried, and they did to an extent. They beefed them up in second edition, but even then they were just like first edition ones with some more hit points and stuff. It's like, they tweaked the AC, gave them some more hit points, and said, all right, go out and play. It isn't until you start getting into third edition that you actually start seeing them get some real respect.
Now, what about Dragonlance?
Dragonlance Dragons 2 were even, if you go back and you look at, because you've got the original modules, right?
Yes.
You need to go back through and take a look at the dragon stats that are in those original modules, and then go and compare them to your 5th edition. And if you still have your 3rd edition stuff laying around, compare it to those dragons and see how much they ramped them up. Because they've ramped them up a lot. Now you have greater worms, you have was it elder dragons, and then hatchlings, ancient dragons. That's, and it's like they have all these classifications that they started to bring about to give you. It's like, okay, well, if you want a dragon, here's in your party's what level? Okay, well, we're going to give you this one to fight, but here we'll give you a harder version of it over here, which I kind of like that. I kind of like the different age groups of the dragons.
Yeah, I like that too.
But ancient dragons, in my opinion, and I guess one of the reasons, I mean, it's part of like game balance for a world too, because if you think about it, remember when we were talking about Eberron, and I said one of the things I liked about Eberron was the fact that in Eberron's history, the giants used to rule the world, and it's like, and why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? They're bigger, they're stronger, they have all these abilities. Why wouldn't they just rule everybody else? Same thing, I guess, with dragons. It's like, why wouldn't the dragons just run the damn joint if they're so damn powerful? So that comes to be
later on in the Dragonlance world, they do.
As they should.
So speaking of which, how are dragons handled in different D&D worlds?
Some, like the Dragonlance, they're definitely core to the setting as a whole. You can't have you can't have Dragonlance without
dragon is in the name twice. Dungeons and Dragons,
Dragonlance. Yes. Now in Forgotten Realms, there's quite a few different dragons, and there's quite a few named dragons. Named dragons that are in the lore of the world, that appear in a bunch of the stories. There's different types of game modules that have come out with the Forgotten Realms dragons in them as well. So there's
Tyranny of Dragons storyline and those two modules or adventures, I guess we call them now.
But like in Greyhawk, you're going to be really hard pressed to find named dragons. There are some, but nowhere near to the amount of named dragons that you'll find roaming around in the Forgotten Realms or in Dragonlance.
How long have we been playing in the Greyhawk world on our Tuesday night streams between the two campaigns.
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years, we saw one dragon.
One dragon.
We weren't even allowed to fight it.
Oh, you could have wisely decided not to, because
they're badass and not dumb.
Right, and using dragon tactics. You caught him out in the open. And what was he doing? He's doing something the dragons do really well. He was flying.
Yeah. So now, do dragons make good bosses?
I think they do. I think dragons, and this is where it comes down to what type of role do you want dragons to play in your game and in your world. Mm-hmm. To me, dragons are some of the best bosses that you could have. But unfortunately, the way that they're constructed and they're used within the settings, they're not really made to be bosses. They're just made to be there. Well, let's say, for example, aside from the Tyranny of Dragons, but let's even use Tyranny of Dragons from 5th edition, okay? That adventure path that we had played through.
Sure, we're talking Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat.
Right.
For those of you not in the know.
But in that storyline, how many dragons do you actually fight?
There weren't many.
There's like 2, right?
Two,
There's
I
the
think.
white
Maybe
one.
3.
I know you have the chance to fight a green dragon.
We didn't, though.
That is more in a side quest version of it.
Yeah,
too.
we didn't fight. We ran away from that.
Yeah,
in our group.
So there's a black dragon and a white dragon, right?
Right.
Okay, and then that's it.
My character, Grant Covington, did kill a baby black dragon after he had hatched it himself.
Yeah, you didn't kill it on purpose.
Unaware.
Though, right?
I had to because he stole my backpack. He was in my backpack, stole all my shit. I had to kill him.
Of course.
As he was flying away.
How dare you take my torches?
I had money in there.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
But the point is okay. So there in the Tyranny of Dragons storyline, you have what?
But there's still not dragons. 2, maybe 3 tops. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. But... And then you end up trying to stop Tiamat from coming back around. Okay, great. That's cool. Okay. Yeah. But let's take a look at the storyline. Who's the real big bad in that? Well, it's Tiamat. Sure. And Tiamat that's a god. It's not just like a regular dragon. So it wasn't the schemes and machinations of a dragon trying to make this stuff come around. It was the humans and everybody else that was around and involved. So basically,
a lot of cultists.
Yeah, cultists, people who are worshiping the dragons, and the dragons are kind of like, eh. Dragons for the most part are never given a place within at least in D&D worlds, where they're like, you know what? I'm going to be the man. I'm going to carve out a kingdom for myself and I'm going to rule. And, and this will be, you never see that. The most popular dragons in Greyhawk are the Greyhawk dragons or the gray dragons. And they change their form. They shapeshift into the forms of mortals and live amongst mortals because they think it's more interesting than hanging out with their own kind. They might have a husband or a wife, gray dragon that lives in a different city or something like that. And every once in a while they'll get together, have tea, make a baby dragon, maybe every so many thousand years. And then that's about it. But even those dragons, they're not really in there for, they're made into a mortal to then maybe be used as an NPC in the storyline.
This is why I like Dragonlance. And for all of you Dragonlance haters out there, grognards maybe.
There's nothing wrong with Dragonlance. Dragonlance is good.
Dragonlance is awesome. And it has fucking dragons in it.
Has dragons in it, and dragons are given, I would have to say, out of all the D&D worlds, Dragonlance really is the one that puts him into the higher regard as I think dragons should be.
I agree.
Because like you start even going into their other worlds, like Planescape, dragons aren't really even considered a part of that.
What about Eberron? That's coming out soon. Any dragons in Eberron?
Mm-hmm. Eberron has dragons just like it. Eberron handles dragons for the most part the same way that the Forgotten Realms does. Dark Sun has really powerful dragons, but they're completely indifferent, if I'm remembering correctly. They're not no, I take that back. They're the Dragon Kings. They're big guys. I'd say this is where I'm going to show my complete lack of Dark Sun knowledge. It's one of the few worlds that I know very little about, although I would like to know more. So, but you have the Dragon Kings in that, so maybe I should take a look at that. Maybe that's something more along the lines of that's something that, in my opinion, that's how you should have them. That's how dragons should be. Because, you should facing a dragon you should definitely, as soon as you see it, go, we're fucked.
Right. So what kind of dragon tactics would make them deadlier as a boss?
Okay. Now this is probably going to be. Well, it can be used in any edition, but this is really important for earlier editions like first and second edition and things along these lines.
Do people still play that? Or are they playing 5th edition?
Oh, yes. No, there's still plenty of people that play first. And Jay, Lord Gasumba, I mean, there you go. That's all.
With the times, Jay.
He's going to totally disagree with
Doesn't want to buy any new books.
Yeah, he quit it second.
Yeah.
So
I liked 2nd edition, so.
Yeah. Dragons, lots of times people have a tendency to get a dragon and they stuff them up in their lair. And then that's where the dragon is, and then that's where the players will meet them, and that's where it'll happen. I don't think dragons, well, they're definitely not at their best there. Dragons would know this,
isn't that
too.
Counterintuitive? Shouldn't they be at their best in their lair?
They do get special abilities depending on if they're the older ones.
Like
but
lair
even
actions and such.
Yeah, but even those abilities, you're talking about higher level characters and stuff. Like, for example, it's like if a dragon knows somebody's coming after him, he wouldn't sit up in his house waiting for him to come.
No, he would go.
He'd go out and find him.
Yeah.
He would fly. Yes. Flying is definitely one of the most underrated things that are done with dragons, because a lot of DMs, what they'll do, they want you to fight them. So what do? They bring them down. And so then the dragon's just down there. There should be one strafing run after another, as far as I'm concerned. They should totally just. And another thing, this is more for the 5th edition people. In 5th edition, spellcasting dragons are considered a variant. Opinion should be the norm. So
are they really? Don't they all have spells of some kind?
Nope. Nope. Traditional dragon stat block has no spells. There's rules in there for if you want to make them spellcasting dragons, how to do it. So now, yeah. So that would definitely be my opinion. Play them smart, as in dragons. There's no reason for a dragon to get up close and personal with an entire party, and definitely not let himself get surrounded by a party.
Right.
Also, too, dragons are smart. If confronted with a party, they're going to know where the healing comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So those should be the first people they target, just like in MMOs. That's a big thing in MMOs when people are playing fantasy ones. They target the healers. You got to get them out of there so that you can continue on. Dragons should do the same thing. It's like, oh, there's a cleric. I'm going to breath weapon that son of a bitch right now. So
maybe that's what I would do.
Yeah,
I always want to get rid of the clerics,
as it should be.
I just don't like playing them.
Clerics are awesome.
So now, how have dragons changed over the years in Dungeons and Dragons? We talked a little bit about this.
We have talked a little bit about that. Now, the two biggest things from going editions, first and second. Second they upped the hit points, they upped the armor class. Okay. Third edition's rolling around. They're like, you know what? We really need to make these into some bigger, badder monsters. So they up the hit points more. They don't really up the armor class, but they make them bigger and they give them special abilities. Now, the 3rd edition dragons, aside the special abilities of their breath weapon that they gave them, they still had the spell casting. So 3rd edition dragons are probably the strongest of all the editions. I am unfamiliar with fourth, so I can't speak the fourth edition.
Is
dragons.
anybody familiar with fourth? Really?
There's a couple of guys out there. I tell you what, if you really liked fourth edition, though, you'd be in hog heaven because everything they produced for fourth edition is cheap as hell to get your hands on. Oh man, you could go on eBay and get like, I saw something. I think it was the guy from Puffin Force was talking about it, which is a show on YouTube, and he was talking about he learned to play playing fourth edition, so he had found like this treasure trove of like all these different fourth edition books, like a stack of these suckers, and he paid like $30 $30 in shipping for like probably close to like $300 worth of books.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's definitely the way to go.
I never played it, but reading through the books,
right,
and almost playing it, I just
now fifth edition.
And you're right. I don't see any. I'm looking at the monster manual here. I don't see any dragons with spell casting.
Yep, there'll be the alternative. There'll be a section in there somewhere about the spell casting drakes and the way to do it. Now, and this is the thing I was just getting ready to talk about fifth. Now, in fifth edition, I'm not really sure what they were thinking. I'm going to assume basically what they were doing was we got to dial down a lot of stuff because fifth edition's about survivability. Okay. And so they're like, okay, well, we still want them to be kind of badass. So we're going to give them some of these special abilities. Now, the ability to attack somebody with your tail as a legendary ability, that's kind of cool. Because you
legendary
get to do that
resistances are good too.
Yes, but they have a limited amount of those. But they are good. But then they took away the spell casting abilities from them. And, and I was like, they should always have the spellcasting abilities, in my opinion, because dragons are supposed to be these big magical creatures,
Right.
One of the deadliest dragons is in a system has got to be ICE or ICE, Iron Crown Enterprises. These are the guys who wound up doing Middle Earth role-playing. They were the first people to do the Middle Earth role-playing games and stuff.
Well, I watched those movies.
Uh-huh.
And that dragon was hard to kill.
Yes.
Yeah, I hit him in one spot. But then if you could hit him in that one spot,
that was it.
Super easy to kill.
Right? But the dragons...
It seemed a lot more difficult.
Yeah, the dragons from Middle Earth role-playing, those suckers are badass. They'll just... There's no amount of character level that's going to prepare you to actually be able to take on and take down an icy Middle Earth dragon. But then again, too, they're super rare. I mean, when Smaug died, I think Smaug was the last dragon, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
movies. I don't. I didn't go into that.
That's right. You never read the books, did you?
Did not read the books.
Oh gosh, people hate you so many.
I tried to read The Hobbit, and I was like, I'm falling asleep.
The Hobbit's, in my opinion, the best one.
I liked the cartoon. I even liked the movies that nobody else liked. I liked all three of them, really.
Yeah.
I didn't think you needed to make 3 movies out of it.
No, you didn't.
But I was fine that they did. I thought I enjoyed them all.
It's like, it's fantasy. That's good. So.
Yeah, that's all I got.
No, that's basically it. I don't think we got anything else on this one. So, in my opinion, basically, what you should do is beef up your dragons and get your dragons more involved in the political and make them into some bosses in your world. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea, too. Now, are we going to see any dragons in Greyhawk anytime soon? On Tuesday nights at 9 p.m.
Actually,
Studios,
yes.
LLC, Twitch.
Yes. Believe it or not.
I don't believe it already.
Okay, well, then I won't tell you.
Tell me. You gotta tell me.
One of the major players when we get to the next ongoing campaign, is going to be a dragon. Good. Which is one of the reasons why I thought of this topic.
Okay.
And
good, because we need to fight some dragons.
Oh, you won't be fighting this dragon.
Then what the fuck's the point?
Well, it's just someone to talk to. You gotta go like barter with.
So
me
here's
and
the thing:
go
are
bowling.
dragons dumb or badass, or DMs dumb or badass? That should be the next topic.
That it is what it is. I don't know. Maybe you guys will fight the dragon at some point.
Anyway, put down in the
wouldn't think you
comments.
would
Do you
right
think
away.
Will should let us fight a dragon? And also, what do you think of dragons? Dumb? I don't know why you would say that, but do you think they are? Or do you think they're badass? Somewhere in between. Do you like using dragons? Do you not like using dragons?
Yeah.
If you're a player, you'll want to fight a dragon.
Hell yeah.
But if you're a DM, why don't you put dragons in your campaign?
Exactly. What? I got a dragon coming.
Yeah,
You
they're not
guys-
gonna be able to
The
fight.
way hey, let's put it this way. The way I run dragons are no joke. So
Right.
before to get to even consider fighting a dragon, you guys got to get up in level, baby.
Right, but you never let us because you like lower level campaigns.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but
I think we'll
Maybe.
talk about that at another stream.
at another stream.
Anyway, guys, there's, you can like and subscribe and things and all that stuff. So do it.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. And the podcasts are now up.
The podcasts are up now
You can find, except
on
for this,
Anchor.
Anchor and
.com.
Spotify. It's on Spotify as well.
Are they on?
So-
When are they going to be on iTunes?
We'll talk. It's eventually, just
'Cause
not.
that's
right
what
away.
I like to listen to podcasts.
I
on.
know
And if
everybody
anyone
does.
likes hearing his own voice, it's me.
You got that right.
So anyway, so you guys.
Adam reads books into he records himself reading books so that he
Just
can
so I
just
can
listen
listen
to
to it.
himself read
So
him a book.
So anyway, you guys can listen to the soothing sounds of my voice whenever you like on Anchor.com and Spotify.
There you go. And it's all under it's a new umbrella, as in before we were putting up podcasts according to show. Now it's just Wicked Studios LLC podcasts.
So
You'll
search for
find
that.
all of them there.
And you'll find them. Don't click on the link that Will posted on Facebook because it doesn't work.
It doesn't?
No, but you can search for it and it pops right up.
I have to redo that.
Anyway, we will see you guys next time for Will DM. I'm Adam, and this has been the Down Roll.
Bye.
These little things you do.
I know they're cute.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
As you should.
Bye-bye.